Hey everybody, what's going on? Juan Velas here to answer one of the questions we got on our weekly wrestling podcast, which you can check out on our YouTube channel, Byte That Cast. We go live on that channel every single Wednesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, so people can chat, they can have that awesome conversation about everything that it is happening on Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, wrestling news. And this is because we sometimes get a lot of questions that we don't have a chance to answer on the show, so when the question is good enough, we make it its own video or topic. And the question comes from Benjamin R. And he states that Brian Alvarez from the Wrestling Observer Live recently mentioned that he thinks a big problem about WWE nowadays is that they are obsessed with getting heat on heel wrestlers, but forgot how to build up credible and over baby faces. One of his prime examples was the Alexa and Bayley feud, where they just tried to get as much heat on Alexa but did not build up Bayley. Do you agree with his point of view? So first of all, thanks a ton for the question. And this is something that I think a lot of people are complaining about. And, you know, when you talk about babyfaces, the most frequent example does seem to be somebody like Roman Reigns, right? Where WWE wants this person to win consistently. And I don't think that it is a Roman Reigns problem. Roman Reigns is the most obvious person, right? Where they want this person to be the next John Cena, to be the next face of the company. But when you look at somebody like Bayley, so that is an excellent example, I think that shows a big problem. Where you look at Bayley, right? Bayley started out in NXT as this lovable babyface whose character was, I'm a huge wrestling fan, I watched wrestling growing up, and now here I am to make an impact. And it was that evolution in NXT of this kind of clumsy character that initially a lot of people did not like that much because she seemed too over the top, right? And then she slowly but surely developed that mean streak, as Stone Cold would say, that when that bell rang, Bayley became a credible wrestler. And that led to very memorable matches with Sasha Banks, who was a great heel, right? So I think that any wrestling match, any wrestling storyline, you need the best of both worlds. Sasha was, definitely knocking her end out of the park. But then here was Bayley, she had fans that loved to cosplay as her. She had the Bayley buddies before they would just shove that down her throat on Monday Night Raw. But once she became part of the main roster, the story was just back to, I'm a wrestling fan. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm a champion. I'm still a wrestling fan. And there's no evolution to the point that when you talk about This Is Your Life, which was a terrible segment between Alexa Bliss and Bayley, at one point, Alexa Bliss actually starts making fun of her, right? Saying like, you grew up watching Raw, which us as wrestling fans is like, I know that Raw is kind of a torture to watch a lot, but it seems like a weird comeback. And then when she actually had the opportunity to relinquish the championship based on the way that she won it, I think that a traditional or a believable babyface, at least for me, would have given up the championship and would say, hey, you know what? I won the championship, but this is not how it should be about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it up, and then I'm just going to beat you right back so that there are no excuses. You look at Carmella with the Money in the Bank and how she had to win it twice, right? But she is an evil character, so it makes sense that, she's never going to want to give the briefcase up. But then here's Bayley, and it just struck me as something that didn't make a lot of sense, I want to bring up some other examples, going back to NXT. You look at somebody like Emma, who very much like Bayley, when she started in NXT, people weren't really sure how to feel about her. She was doing this dumb dance that I'll admit, I came to loving after a while. And there was this element of like her trying to get into the ring. It wasn't just, I'm a clumsy character. It's, I'm a clumsy character that's trying to get better. And you actually get to see that progress. But what happened to Emma once she came up to the main roster? Hey, she's clumsy, she's kind of dumb. You know who else we have here that's kind of clumsy and dumb? We got Santino. Let's just stick her up with Santino, because why not? Xavier Woods was another guy that he was, struggling a little bit in NXT. Then he comes up on the main roster in a random tag team match and then proceeds to do nothing for a very long time. He was just the guy that loved to have a good time, but you never actually got to understand why. Another example, you look at the New Day. The New Day, they first had that sort of a heel Nation of Domination type thing. Then they go away. and then they come as a super clean, awesome tag team, the power of positivity and all that stuff, and the people would not eat it up. And it seems like WWE actually intended the New Day to be this unbelievably, good babyface, say your prayers, eat your vitamins tag team. But there was no evolution. They would just say the same thing. And that's what we get with heels like Jinder Mahal. He says, I will speak to my people from my country, my language. And you hate that, right? Because it's repetition. And that's fine for a heel. But when you get that type of repetition with no evolution for a babyface, it doesn't work. How did the New Day manage to fix that? They became creative. They became over the top. They were able to adjust themselves to different things. They got New Day pops. They got New Day merchandise. So it shows, right? Like there is a silver lining. There is a really positive outcome. And I'm going to keep bringing up 2 more examples of the women's division because, those are the primary things that you brought up. And 2 of them are Sasha Banks and Naomi. And this may be a little weird to start off, but I actually believe that Naomi and Sasha Banks right now, as of this recording in July 2017, they are essentially the same character. You look at Sasha, she calls herself the boss. In NXT, the boss meant, this personality, this attitude, nobody can beat me. But then in the main roster, she started saying that being the boss is standing up for what you believe in, be resilient, never give up, don't back down. It almost feels like I'm listening to John Cena saying hustle, loyalty, and respect. And then on the opposite side, you look at SmackDown, what is Feel the Glow all about? It is about standing up. It is about, saying screw it to the non-believers. It's about believing in yourself. It's the same thing. And the problem is that it's a lot of this. It is a lot of talk, but there's not a lot of walking. There's not a lot of transition between what is being said by the character versus what is being done in the ring, and so on and so forth. You look at heels in 2017, The Miz was on fire on SmackDown Live, but it's because he managed to speak a lot of the truth. The heel characters, oddly enough, are more babyface nowadays than the babyfaces have ever been because they've been honest. The Miz would talk about Dean Ambrose saying that, hey, when's the last time that one of your championship feuds was memorable? And I gotta say, I agree. So it's sort of odd that, another person like Alexa Bliss speaks the truth. And you get that confusion from the crowd, right? Where here's the person I'm supposed to cheer, but they don't sound believable. Then here's the person I'm supposed to boo, and then they are making a lot of sense. So I'm confused. And then to add even more layers upon this conversation, you take social media. Take an example at Nia Jax. Nia Jax on Instagram is Nia Jax. Like, her Instagram is not her real name. It is her character portrayal. But then she is like the nicest person, right? Like hanging out with Alexa Bliss and all this stuff. And you don't have to tell me. I know wrestling is scripted. I know these are characters. The problem is that great people don't equal great characters. And it feels like WWE as a public company in 2017 doesn't really care about baby faces. They care about people that are great to the fans, which is awesome. Because I love to follow all these people on social media, their careers. Like Ty Dillinger's basically always missing on SmackDown, but you'll watch a picture of him with his dog on Instagram, and you're as happy as can be, right? But then when it comes to the shows, all of that gets lost because they care more about the person playing the character than the character playing the character and the character evolving, to different layers upon layers. It's almost like WWE should follow a movie format. Say if you have a movie trilogy, then that character has to evolve, because if you have the same character, you look at Frodo in Lord of the Rings, he's like this lovable babyface, but then he gets the ring and then he gets obsessed over the ring. So it's not that he's a bad guy, but there's something that he really likes and he almost becomes like a bad guy. But then at the end, it's like, no, I got to stand up for what I believe in. I cannot forget about my journey. In WWE, if you did that, it wouldn't work, because Bayley would just be telling you in the whole movie, hey, can I hug you? I really want to hug you, like really, really, really badly. And there's nothing else happening. So that's one of the biggest problems. But that's not to say that things aren't always like that in WWE. You look at an example like Breezango. Breezango is the perfect example where you can actually evolve the character the same way they did something like that with the New Day, where, these fashion files, the fashion popo, the fashion police, this actually adds element to the character because you get to see that different layer of comedy. They're not just going for LOL comedy. Like, there's a contrast between the way that Tyler Breeze talks and the way that Fandango talks. You know, that you can get this black and white thing like they did with the New Day. So then the New Day actually gets to benefit and evolve their character because they're involved in a backstage segment with Breezango, which is able to like intertwine characters, right? Like, you know, it's good when they even got me to cheer the Ascension. You know, like the Ascension went to grab those tickets. They were in that backstage locker room just yelling at each other. But because you knew you were watching something in the context of a Breezango segment, it just made it far more enjoyable. And another recent example, is Sami Zayn and the Power of Love. He's currently involved in this thing with Maria and Mike Kanellis. And just before that, his character, it was in a very similar situation, right? Like, he was just a good guy, and I guess you liked him, and he does the let's go thing. All of a sudden, he became a little bit more annoying. He became the best friend that you can't help but want to punch because he's cool, he's nice, but he is so annoying, but you can't help but love that. So what do? They unite that with Maria and Mike Kanellis, and all it takes is him knocking something backstage off to then piss off Mike and Maria, and just by seeing Sami Zayn's facial expression, you know exactly what he's about, and that's what characters should be. It shouldn't be 30-minute promos. It shouldn't even be 5-minute promos that just tell me, like, hey, I'm delivering this borderline PA, or public service announcement about how good it is to be a good person. Please like me, feel the glow, and I'm the boss. It should be about, I'm looking at you, and by me looking at you directly, you should get an idea of what my character is all about, because I've given my character that time, right, to evolve, to manifest. You look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. How many GIFs online of the rattlesnake with people like Jonathan Coachman, like The Rock, the same thing with Jonathan Coachman. I'm a big fan of the Coach, as you can probably tell. Whenever somebody dropped a beer that Stone Cold wanted to hand them over, like there's one with Stacy Keibler, you looked at Stone Cold, and he didn't need to say a damn thing. You knew exactly what was going to happen. You were gonna eat it up because Stone Cold does what Stone Cold wants to do. And to add another perspective to this conversation, I got a quote here from one of our Gold Patreon supporters, Overcooked Bacon, who wrote to this question, yes, I totally agree. On Raw, who is the top babyface? Balor, Rollins? For months now, we have all been asking who and what these characters are. Then take a look at the heels, Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman, and even Roman Reigns. They are all having the best runs of their respective careers, while the babyfaces are becoming stale and repetitive. There's a couple of cases like Enzo and AJ who are being built up at the moment like Enzo, but his thoughts are true. Oh, it is damn true. So as you can see, yet another person that definitely agrees with the question that Benjamin submitted, and so far it goes along the line with what I've been saying. And that's where I'm going to leave this conversation because, to sum it up, I do believe that WWE, for some of the characters, they're able to play a more deep, an emotional involvement or investment with what they want to do. For whatever reason, it seems like if you're in the lower card, like a Breezango, or you're in the tag team division, you have a little bit more leeway. But as you head up on the roster, it seems like your character becomes far more neutral from the babyface side. So you have the person that you want to boo, but then you don't really want to boo them because you're like a Braun Strowman. You're so damn awesome, almost killing Apollo Crews, that how am I supposed to boo you? And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, most of these people are a one-dimensional good guy character that the first week you like them, but then eventually they just become like everybody else. So folks, if you're watching this on YouTube, I would love to know what you think about this conversation. Please drop a comment below. And if you're also on YouTube, definitely give us a huge thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us elsewhere, don't forget you can check out the podcast available every single Wednesday night. And if you want to go one step further and support everything that it is we are doing, you can go to patreon.com/bytethat. Patreon is a crowdfunding platform where you can pledge any amount that you want, and that directly goes to us to be able to cover production costs, to be able to get something like Fire Pro Wrestling World. It came out this week, I should say, and I got that because of the supporters on Patreon, and that will become, videos for the YouTube channel. That will become live streams where we can have conversations about all that. You can also check out a review of Great Balls of Fire as well. So once again, patreon.com/bytethat at $5 or more. You get access to videos before they are available to the public, like this one right here. You get lifetime access for all tiers to an exclusive Discord channel where we can talk to all of you. And we got a lot more perks coming up for the Gold supporters. So thank you so much on an international basis. All of you are, simply put, incredibly awesome. So until next time, thank you for watching and listening. And we will be back with a lot more right here on Byte That.